So my name is Jon Pasquinelli. I'm the regional manager for Rovensa Next. Been with the company for about 10 years. So we got a pretty good team out here in California. Most of them are here today. And so those of you that don't know what Rovensa Next is, or maybe you're still thinking about what it is, we switched our name about a year and a half ago to Rovensa Next, from More Agri to Rovensa Next. Got a bunch of companies together and put them under one name throughout the world, and they got us. So here's a little video to enjoy.
3, 2, 1, let's grow. 12 sustainable pioneers within crop control, management, and protection are combining their strengths under one business unit to stand stronger on our joint mission to shape a sustainable future for agriculture and drive a biotransformation. At Rovensa Next, we offer you a comprehensive approach, all the way from seed to fork, with a presence in 41 countries, more than 2,000 employees, 13 production facilities, and 27 R&D centers. Out of these 12 companies, Agroque, Cosmocell, and Oro Agri, with a consolidated footprint in North America, will continue bringing innovative products and dedicated teams to support American agriculture. But even though it seems like everything is changing, nothing is really changing. We will offer the same high-performance biosolutions, grounded approach, entrepreneurial spirit, and dedicated people to support your business. Questions? Go to www.rovensanext-na.com to learn more about our business unit. Let's grow together. Let's grow now. Let's grow greener.
So that leads into, I'm the first guy that gets to talk today, and I'm going to talk about one of our specific products called NanoCal. We picked a couple of products today that I think are specific to the grape market. So this is a product that we developed here in the U.S. A few years ago. So in 2018, Donovan Pullen, who was our general manager at the time, the son of the founder of our company, came to our sales meeting and said, "Hey guys, we got a calcium product." And for many of you guys in the room, you know that we're basically known as an adjuvant company. And so I wasn't skeptical, but I was like, wow, why do we need a calcium product? There's 100,000 calcium products on the market. How are we going to compete in that space where we're selling adjuvants, right? And so but they challenged us. They challenged every one of us. They said, you know what? Everybody take samples, go out in the field, put it out, and just let's see what happens with this product. Let's see. That was kind of our product launch, market development, did all that. And then there was a big talk about, is it soil, is it foliar, can the calcium move if you put a foliar, how's it going to work in the soil, it's a calcium carbonate, is it going to bind up? So we were trying to answer all these questions. And so my primary region for the company is Southern California, Arizona, right? So it was about August, and I'm trying to think, what the heck can I put calcium on? And so I was talking to one of my customers in the Phoenix area, and I started talking to him about the product, and I'm like, man, I got this calcium, I don't know what to do with it. When I look at it, and he's like, you know what? I just got a tissue sample back from one of my navel orange groves from an area kind of northeast of Phoenix, where it's all on DG soil types, like the decomposed granite, not a whole lot of organic matter. And he goes, we're showing a little bit of deficiency in calcium. He goes, why don't we put it out there? We'll split a block and let's put it out there. So these are full grown navel orange trees. They got about baseball size oranges on there. They're about a month and a half from harvest. And he's like, let's just put it out there and see what happens. So I go out there and I pull my samples, I pull some leaves, I pull some fruit, send them into our lab for calcium analysis. And so we got the initial, we go out, we spray quart per acre, foliar on I'm talking like full size citrus trees. You know, let's see what a quart does. Let's see what happens. So we go out there, 2 weeks later I go back, I pull tissue samples, I pull fruit samples, and lo and behold, we moved the needle. Had more calcium in the leaves, had more calcium in the fruit, and I was just like, all right, you know, maybe we got something here. And then, you know, come to find out, a lot of guys in our company, they do a lot of potatoes. Idaho, Washington, South Dakota, Minnesota. And that was kind of their focus with the product in their markets. And they went out and they put it out on a bunch of potatoes. And everywhere we put it, we were moving the needle. You know, it was going in the soil, it was going on foliar. I did some blackberries on the coast. We just, everywhere we put it, we moved the needle. And we're like, hey, you know what, we probably got something here. So we started looking at it. And then we really started breaking it down. And we're like, all right, it's a calcium carbonate. Obviously not all calciums are the same. This is the label. And we got it's got urea, nitrogen, a little bit of potash, calcium carbonate. And then that's the secret ingredient we're going to talk about in a little bit. Right there. So pretty basic product, right? You look at that, there's probably 10 other products on the market that maybe have similar amounts of nutrients in there. Give me a water. Thank you. All right, so I'm not really going to dive into what calcium does because I'm assuming everybody in this room knows more about calcium than I do. And so we're just going to kind of talk. So we know, you know, standard cell wall strengthening, flowering, fruit support, environmental stress response, stuff like that. So I'm going to talk more. I'm going to focus more on what kind of sets us apart a little bit and why you should take a look at this calcium. And it's you know, because of this thing, right? So it's the 401. We talked about that. 10% calcium. It's got 5% Ascophyllum nodosum in there, so some seaweed. And then it's got 12% humic acid, which a good percentage of that is fulvic. We selected the humic specifically for the high content of fulvic acid. And then it also contains our OraWet technology. So OraWet technology, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But basically, if you guys are in here, most of you have probably used Vintry or Wetsit or one of those products. OraWet is what powers those products, right? So you know, obviously amine nitrogen, it's readily available. As soon as we spray it on, the plants can take it up. That's a plus, you know, they don't have to break it down. Micronized calcium particles. So I haven't talked about this yet. We have micronized calcium particles. So they're sub-nanoparticle size. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So we can apply it through the soil, we can go foliar with it, and we'll talk about kind of the advantages of going with either one of those applications. So some of the benefits, obviously, because of the calcium and some of the other ingredients in there, you know, better fruit quality, color, harvest uniformity. So it's going to help with the soil structure if we do actually put it in the soil. And then it's also going to help with some of the calcium deficiency diseases, right? So I know obviously grapes don't have hollow heart or bitter pit, stuff like that, but any sort of those physiological diseases that show up with the lack of calcium. So it says stop, but obviously we're going to help reduce that. You know, to 100% stop, would be amazing, and we would sell millions of gallons of this stuff. But you know, we're going to help with that problem. So the use rate, pretty simple. 1 to 8 pints per acre. Our standard recommendation is going to be a quart per acre. That seems to kind of be where it kind of meets that economic threshold and it's comfortable, and we see it do pretty good work. Some of the stuff we'll show later is on 2 quarts per acre. You can go higher. You know, it's all whatever fits into the budget. So again, we talked about the Ascophyllum nodosum, seaweed, kind of what advantages does that bring to this mix, right? So you're going to get the micronutrients in there. It's going to have other elements like selenium and iodine, some stuff that we probably don't ever really look at or look for to put in the plant, but it contains that. And also it has a ton of stress reducing compounds, right? It's a great kind of antioxidant type material to put on your plant under stress conditions. And so, you know, you can see what they got. And then obviously it's a growth performance enhancer. It's cytokinins in the seaweed are known to help with cell division. Obviously when you're cell division and you got calcium, the cells are dividing, you need more calcium to help strengthen those cells as they divide and form new cells. So it's kind of like a 1-2 package, right? We're helping with cell division and we're providing it the necessary components to help build healthy cells. And so, I would like to say, so this is in addition to any calcium program out there, right? This is not your only calcium source. There's calcium in the soils. This is something to supplement what calcium program you're running now. So I don't want to be, this is not the only calcium product you should be using, but this is a good supplement to what you're already doing with your fertility. All right. So obviously, and I keep hitting on these, kind of what the advantages of using these products are, right? So we're getting shoot growth. Sorry, that one's kind of hard to read. Some, the leaf and fruit calcium, we'll see an uptake in that, calcium uptake, microbial life. How are we doing all of this? Kind of how are we supporting all this? So we talked about the ascophyllum nodosum. It also has plant-derived carbon. That's a humic acid, right? So humic, wait around another million years, is going to be a diamond, but at this point it's not quite there yet, so it's still a huge carbon source in the soil. We can take that product. I put a little dill up there, kind of shows a couple of humic chains, but then it also shows the fulvic chain, right? So the humics are your long carbon chains. They're going to be in the soil to support microbial growth, add that carbon compound that you need in the soil to feed the microbes. But the fulvic, you can see it's a little different, the structure there. It's a much smaller, so it's much easier to break down. And so that's going to be kind of your quick release, if you could say so, your quick release, broken down very quickly by the microbes. And then fulvic acid, if you've ever had a pregnant wife or been pregnant, fulvic acid, they give that. It's very good for embryo development, for the health of the baby, stuff like that. Same with your plants, right? We're developing babies out there. And so this is going to support all of those functions in that plant. So super important. So it's kind of it's a pretty good combo, right? We got our ascophyllum, we got our humic. The humic also acts kind of as a chelator too, right? It's an acid, even though it's a weak chained acid, it's going to help that calcium from getting bound up in the soil as we put it out there. And of course, we're talking about the calcium carbonate product, and this is where we're at 700 nanometers in size. So that's a 0.7 nanoparticle size. And so we'll get into that in just a second and why that's important. And of course, it contains OraWet technology. So I'm going to focus on OraWet for a minute. So this is kind of, it's the strength of our company. It's the backbone. This is what our company was founded on, OraWet. Orange oil, cold pressed orange oil with the surfactant package to go out. It's the base product in all of our adjuvants. It's in our pesticide, Prevam. And so we decided to put it in this product so this product has a natural delivery system. OraWet is known to be a very good wetter, very good spreader, and also penetrant, right? So now we're putting that in a nutritional product. And so what does that mean? So we're gonna get better coverage. If you're going foliarly, you're gonna get better coverage on the leaf surface. And we're also gonna be able to not necessarily drive, but facilitate those elements into the plant, whether it's the ascophyllum nodosum, obviously in the humic, it's not going to do much on the surface of the plant, but the calcium that's in there. But in the soil, we're also reducing the surface tension of the water, and so we're actually helping it move through the soil as well. So we're getting better coverage in the soil. When you put it in the ground, it's able to go and find more areas to reside with the calcium. So instead of dumping if you're going out through your micro sprinklers, instead of the calcium being consolidated in one little spot, with the OraWet technology in there, it's going to spread and be wider, so it's going to hit more area for your feeder roots to go in there and pick it up. So a little bit more kind of what it does on the leaf surface anyways. If you use this as a foliar product, you can see we get better deposition, you get better spreading, and then with the penetration aspect, we actually help get stuff into the aqueous solution of the plant. And that's where the magic happens. When we put it on foliarly, that calcium carbonate is able to get in the aqueous solution and travel through the plant where it's going, and as it's going, it's dissolving and breaking down, and that's what's providing the calcium. So when they say calcium can't move in the plant, generally speaking, yes, but we're kind of putting a solid calcium form in the plant that's small enough to get into the aqueous solution, and then it's breaking down and dissolving and then moving to where it needs to in the plant. So we're kind of tricking it a little bit, I think. A little bit of magic. So to put it in perspective, let me focus on the size for a minute. So dust mite, tiny, you can't see them. If they're in your bed, you're not seeing them. Human hair, well, maybe you'll see it a little bit, but hopefully they're not in your bed. I hope they're not. So most calcium particle sizes are going to be in that 10 to 20 range over there. You can see pollen, small, dust mite, feces. I don't know why we put that on there just for show. But then we have ENCOURAGE NANOCAL, less than 1 micron, right? Less than 1. So most calcium's in that 10 to 200 range. We're at less than 1. Tiny particle size. I mean, obviously you can see it here, but in all reality you can't see it. It looks like, if you ever saw the raw ingredient, it looks like talcum powder. And it goes in. By the way, there's samples on the tables, some of the tables of the NanoCal. You can see what the mixture looks like. It's the dark one, looks like chocolate milk a little bit. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but you can see the mixture right there. All right, so tiny particle size and a lot of stuff to deliver to the plant. So in the soil, how does that tiny particle size matter in the soil? It's important because it goes wherever it wants, right? We got the delivery system, it's going to move through there, it's going to find all the little cracks and crannies, it's going to go wherever the water goes, as long as it's carried there. It can settle in all these places. And then all of a sudden you got a bunch of new cation exchange points, right? You got that calcium in there, you got everything. So we're adding a ton of new calcium or cation exchange points in the soil to help offset, some of the salts. It's also so small that the feeder roots are able to absorb it at that point if it comes in contact with them. And so it's a really good product. Tiny, 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 and the soil goes everywhere. I equate to if you had a handful of sand and you had a handful of pebbles and you threw them on the sidewalk, which one is going to cover more area? Right? The hand of rocks, they weigh the same amount. You throw it, you're going to see a lot of concrete still. You throw the sand, covers entirely. That's kind of what we're doing, right? It's that small. We're able to cover the surface in the ground. Obviously, at a quart per acre, you're going to get what you get, but you're going to get a lot of little tiny particles of calcium out there for the roots to find, for it to, salts to bind up to carbonate. The salts are going to bind up to it. It's going to help with your overall soil condition because of that. With that, we're just going to get more surface area out there. And I think to put it into, let's talk about that. So to put it in perspective, so we put this together. I wish we would have scored a touchdown with it. We should have adjusted it, but so at 80 microns, that's about how much. So these are all based on a pound. What are we? Basically like a pound of material. How much it would cover at that size on a football field, and it's 0.43 yards, right? Because it's rocks. You're putting out rocks. You're putting out there. They're not going to cover very much. Here's 10 microns. You're going to cover 3.4 yards in reality, right? 3 microns, 11.3 yards. And then for the touchdown with NanoCal, same amount of NanoCal as all of these are the same amount if you weighed them out. They're all the exact same amount. With NanoCal, you're going to cover 73.3 yards with the same amount of material, just because of the size. You're getting that coverage. And that's what's important, right? You want the coverage in the soil, and it's a small particle size, and it's already a size that the plant can easily uptake. And we got the food for the microbes. The microbes are going to help breaking down all the other nutrients that are in the soil to help support the cell division. You've got calcium there. So it's a pretty good product in the soil. We promote it early season in the soil, bloom through like petal fall kind of, obviously grapes, we're not talking petal fall and grapes, but that early bloom season, that early fertilization, get it out there and help develop the flowers, develop the pollen, and just get overall. So you should see a better fruit set, more complete flowers, that kind of stuff when using a product like this, because it's going to be able to have more calcium in the soil. So that's generally the recommendation in the soil early season for those reasons. Obviously, and they say if you read a lot of the things, the fruit, the calcium that's in the fruit must come through the soil. So obviously here we're putting calcium in the soil. We're supplementing the calcium that's already in the soil with this product to help make sure the plant's getting enough calcium to develop the fruit. Because that's the end goal, right? We want fruit. We want it to be good fruit, more harvestable fruit, so put enough calcium. All right, foliar, we're gonna switch foliar now. Why we can use a foliar, why we can use soil. That micron size, that nanoparticle size, so here's the stomatal openings, and here's some average stomatal openings for plants, right? We don't have grapes up there, but you get the idea. Stomatas, very small. They're microns, you know, 21 by 8 micron, 19, 38, 7 on the beans. We're smaller than all that. So we can actually, we're smaller enough to be taken up in the stomata. And that gets in the plant, gets in the aqueous solution, starts breaking down, starts getting that calcium put where it needs to go, whether it's the fruit, whether it's the growing point. It helps supplement, obviously, the calcium that's in the plant. And so this is where we talk about helping with those deficiencies with blossom end rot, some of that stuff on some of the other fruits. This is why we can do that. We're help supplementing it and ensuring that the plant can get calcium where it needs to go, right? Because under stress, the plant starts freaking out and it starts diverting all the calcium to the new growth. And so now it's taken away from your fruit, it's taken away from old growth, and you know, that's where you start seeing a lot of those deficiencies come up. So we're, you know, it can even cause drop, you know, fruit drop, fruit loss, stuff like that. So it's critical, and critical timing under stress, that, you know, sometimes we make some of these applications. And of course we got the seaweed in there, it's a stress relief component. It's gonna help the plant kind of get back to normal, stabilize, and keep moving that calcium around. All right, so just to kind of remind everybody why it's so unique. So it's a submicronized calcium with the proprietary Orowet surfactants in there. You know, so that helps shield the calcium ions, preventing formation, all that good stuff. You can read that. It's got the carbon source, the fulvic. It's got the humic or the kelp in there. So it's you know, we try to sell it as a calcium product, but to me it's a good nutritional product for the plant to help with some of the issues the plant's going through. If it's hot out there and you're worried about dropping anything, any fruit, if you're you know, with us like cotton or citrus, we get the June drop, July drop. This is a product you can spray on foliarly to help reduce some of that drop. So anyways, all right, so here's a, oh yeah, so this talks about kind of the same stuff. I read something one time where you have to hear it 10 times before you believe it, so I'm going to keep saying it and saying it. No, I'm just kidding, we won't do that. All right, so foliar and soil treatment. So we wanted to see, so obviously there's a little like debate on foliar better, soil better, foliar better, soil better, and then what's actually doing the work. So we put this little study together. Actually, we had one of our lab, she was our lab tech. She was getting her master's at Fresno State, so she designed this study as part of her master's. And so she went out with, so we repeated it for 2 years. So untreated, so no additional calcium added. We did mainstay calcium foliar just to see, like, as a check, right, a commercial check. This is the calcium carbonate product that we actually use in our blend just by itself. Right, we want to see if the calcium carbonate's doing the work, is it what's doing the work in this product. And so then we put NanoCal foliar and we put the NanoCal through the soil. And you can see the application timings. And so they were, you know, obviously the dates are different throughout the years, but we try to mimic the same conditions both years on the same block of grapes. And it was done in Selma. And Autumn Royal was the 14-year-old Autumn Royal was the variety. So first off, what we wanted to look at, what she was looking at is what the spray looks like combined with everything combined. So we got the control. So this is NanoCal sprayed foliarly, calcium carbonate sprayed by itself with just water, and then this is it with our Orowet, right? And so even though the Orowet looks better, but you still see, you know, on the tips that calcium carbonate. So the Orowet is, while the Orowet will keep it in solution, it's not actually like doing something to that calcium. It's still, you can still visibly see residue on the leaves, right? So now, but for some reason when you get the NanoCal, which has the humic and the seaweed in there, I mean, look how dark it is. It's dark. And you see no trace of it, no residue, nothing. So it's a pretty good, that whole product put together. It's a clean product, very easy to use, doesn't plug up sprayers, and leaves no residue. So it's not going to leave any residue fruit. Or
What rate was that
at 2 quarts. 2 quarts per 100. I'm sorry, 2 quarts per acre. So I don't know what she sprayed, but I'm assuming it was equivalent to the 2 quarts per acre rate, huh?
100 gallons.
100 gallons of water. So 2 quarts per acre in 100 gallons of water.
You have pictures of the fruit as well?
We do. I hid them because no, I could unhide it really quick, and I don't know if you want. Anyways, you see the same thing. Like you see.
Berries, just the berries. So this is the berries of moisture.
Do you wanna? All right, hold on 1 second. We're accommodating. Rovensa next. No worries, no worries. I wanted to show them anyways. They told me to let's hide them. We were taking too much time. All right. Untreated NanoCal, again, you don't see any visible residue on the NanoCal bunches. Calcium carbonate, you can see the calcium carbonate still on there. And then with the Oro Wet, we got accumulation at the bottoms because obviously we're wetting, we're spreading, so when it's drying, it's settling on the bottom of the fruit. And of course, we don't want that either. We know that. We want this. So that's the magic. I don't know what the magic is. That it's the humic, it's the seaweed. I know it's the humic that's doing a lot of this because it's chelating that calcium carbonate that's in that mix. But so this is the finished product. That's NanoCal, clean, very easy to use. All right. So here's kind of the little bit of data I'm going to show. Not trying to get too hung up in this, but you can see with the calcium carbonate. Obviously, we were just seeing is that the calcium carbonate doing all the work. And we can see right here for coloring, the NanoCal foliar and the NanoCal soil both had more in that percentage range where you're going to get that harvest earlier than having to wait on the number 1s or number 2 colors, like where they're just still green. So little quicker to harvest. We see this in wine grapes. We spray it on at veraison. Guys tell me they can go in a week quicker, on some of the difficult red varieties. I don't have any data on that. It's always just hearsay, but we do, and on the coast we spray a lot at that veraison timing just for that, to help with coloring. Again, 2-year study, so 2020, 21. So this is the number of bricks. We're still matching the number of bricks. Here's mainstay calcium. You can see the foliar and the soil treatment were at or above, the mainstay calcium. So we're helping with fruit quality. We're getting color, we're getting bricks, and that's what calcium should be doing. And we're just showing you we could do it clean, good product. We could do it through the soil. We can do it foliarly. And then here on the foliar really kind of stood out in this one on the total yield on this one. So this is a pretty big increase. So you can see the calcium carbonate's there, but we're taking it, we're elevating it into something that really helps the plants out. So again, compared to mainstay calcium, we're right there with it. I'm not here to say don't use mainstay, but I'd rather use ours because it's our product. But we're just showing we can compete with those commercial calciums that are already on the market. So. And that's all I got. Any other questions, anything? You can see it on the tables. If you guys want to try it, get samples, contact your sales guys. We'd be happy to let you take a look at some, go out there, do a side-by-side, stuff like that. Obviously we recommend it critical timings for calcium. We like it early for that fruit development. Anytime in the middle while it's sizing is pretty good, and then at the end for the fruit quality and finish. So if you have any questions, let me know.